The following program is made possible through funding provided by the Duval County Public Schools.
Jacksonville's public schools are a national pilot site for dropout prevention. A look at physical education in today's schools, meshing the state requirement for high school majors with Duval County's areas of interest plan, and the cost of technology. A look at those issues coming up on this edition of School Matters. Welcome to this month's program. I'm Stacy Ellison. Duval County Public Schools are seeking some $93 million for technology system upgrades and instruction. With us to explain the needs and the cost are Public School Superintendent Joseph Wise, Chief Technology Officer Dr. Terry Stallman, and also Jill Budd, Principal, on assignment. Thank you all for being here today. Now we're going to start with just what exactly is needed in our school system. That's a whole lot of money.
It's a whole lot of money, Stacy. We have two pressing needs. One, we need to build out our infrastructure to support 58 remaining schools with electronics, servers, and hardware for students and instructional purposes in our schools. And secondly, we need to look at replacing our student information system, which is our student of record that keeps all the demographic data on students and generates our public school funding.
And how will this directly affect students, their day-to-day classwork in schools, in the schools?
I think probably from the perspective of a principal, it really makes a difference in the level of engagement that students have. I think it helps teachers relate to students because it's speaking their language when they get involved with the technology, and the kids get so much more excited about what's happening in the classroom.
You know, there's been a whole push, Dr. Wise, the whole thing moving these students towards employment. Do you feel this technological upgrade, if you will, is going to help in that cause as well?
Well, one of the things that this upgrade won't accomplish for us is getting to a level of making it really cool on students' terms. You know, back in the day when I was a student, and I won't say about anybody else at this table, but back in the day when I was in school, we learned to see things on a chalkboard or a whiteboard with a color marker pretty well. Today, students need things coming at them fast and in color and furious, so that the medium that we are comfortable with, students aren't comfortable with. And so what we do know about engagement, when stuff comes at them faster, cognitively they engage and they'll work at higher and more productive levels. So this $93 million doesn't get that accomplished for us, but this does the nuts and bolts work to finish a very well-crafted technology plan that we're working off of and not take 7 more years to complete it. So we feel the need to accelerate this and get it done in the next 3 years. On top of that, we need to get the plans put in place so that we are teching up these classrooms to get the full productivity. Then you can translate to students being prepared for higher wage jobs, going to college, all of those things that we've talked about on other shows.
Now, where's this money coming from?
That's a good question. It's important to understand that the district has been doing its due diligence in providing technology, but with a limited amount of funds, it's just been spread over a 15-year deployment plan. So what we're looking at now is condensing that deployment plan into a 3-year plan, and we're looking at different sources of revenue, such as our capital budget, some of our operational funds, maybe even discussing those options with the voters to see what the city of Jacksonville is willing to commit to and support so that our students will be ready for a global competitive workforce. And that's got to be the end in mind that we work towards. It's not tomorrow, but it's the future that we have to think about and what opportunities our students are going to have with or without technology.
So the plan overall, this will roll out, I suppose, in phases. Have certain areas been targeted as primary areas to begin this technology upgrade?
Absolutely. We currently have crafted a 3-year capital plan that we are finalizing to take to our board and to look for sources of revenue. And with that in place, we hope to finish deploying all of our schools. We have 58 more schools to deploy in our school system, and that means putting electronics, hardware, power, as well as any kind of software that we want to put into schools. But that's just a baseline. That's not doing the jazzier things like laptops for students, wireless environments for our schools. Those are not in the $93 million plan. Those are things on top of our foundation that we have to build right now.
Or refreshing the other stuff.
Right, and that is a good point that Jill makes, is that if we continue in our current deployment plan for the next 15 years, 75% of our hardware on our desktops in our classrooms will be out of date and unsupported by our technology support systems by the time we deploy the last school.
Now, you mentioned laptops for students. Is that one of the goals, that every student will have a laptop?
You know, that was a community conversation that started to take place in concert with us revealing to the school board that we had a $93 million kind of deficit to dig out of in terms of money that just hasn't been spent. And so there was talk about that. There are incredible merits to issuing laptops to students, maybe someday without buying textbooks. It's all loaded on, configured for them. We're not ready to have that discussion yet. I see real merits in that, and I can't wait to have the discussion, but that's a premature discussion right now. So we're working very hard to use very good business sense to get this work done, so that and we'll layer that in when it's time, using really conservative and well thought out business principles. I will say another thing about that. So people seeing the show and they see Ms. Budd and Dr. Stallman here, these are two of our instructional masters in the business. Ms. Budd, Dr. Stallman, like others in the district, are seen as knowing a lot about instruction and teaching and learning. And you might say, why would you, the superintendent, pull people like this out of instruction to do technology work? Well, because we need to do technology to make sure it's working for teaching and learning, and they've done amazing work in leading us through sort of some uncharted waters here to get to the next level.
And finally, a large component of this will, of course, be training as well for teachers and staff.
Absolutely, and that's a role that Jill and I are collaborating on right now, is that we've got to get our business user, our schools, to ask for certain software systems and hardware systems, and then we'll provide the support to make sure that they are able to use them on a daily basis, so that our total cost of ownership and our return on our investment is well spent.
Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it. Still to come, finishing the race is the only way you can win. And later, has PE class gone soft? This is School Matters.
A Duval County Public Schools, did you know? 50,000. That's the number of students transported by bus every day to a Duval County public school. And that's on nearly 1,000 bus routes covering over 840 square miles. Duval County Public Schools, inspiring dreams that influence tomorrow.
The Pew Partnership for Civic Change recently announced that Jacksonville and Shreveport, Louisiana public schools will pilot a national dropout prevention initiative. The Learning to Finish campaign will bring together community stakeholders to develop dropout prevention strategies. Dr. Jeannie Ballantyne is the principal of Jeb Stuart Middle School, and Dr. Chris Larson is the supervisor of the Alternative Education Safety Nets program for the public schools. They join us now with Dr. Wise to explain this initiative. Now, first question is, how in fact did Jacksonville get selected to be part of this program?
Our city, Stacy, was selected primarily because of the existing assets already within our city, both within the school district and outside of the school district. Many excellent initiatives in place on behalf of our students in general and our children, particularly in the area of dropout prevention and graduation.
Now, was the dropout rate of the school system something that was considered in the selection?
Certainly, and it has been encouraging, to be honest. For the past several years, it's been going in the right direction. In school year 2000-2001, for instance, our dropout rate was 8.3%. In the last full year, which was school year 2004-05, it was down to 5.9%. But anything above 0% is unacceptable.
Absolutely. Now, how will this campaign work? What exactly does it entail?
The campaign is a partnership, as you mentioned, with the community, and we're looking forward to engaging with a number of stakeholders in conversations and then actually having our programs materialize in our schools. We have 3 high schools and the 2 middle schools. I'm a principal of one of those schools, will be supported through this program, and we are the feeder schools to the high schools. We have the 8th grade students who will be targeted this year, and their baseline data gathered this year, and then we will watch what happens with them as we move through the next 4 years of high school. So we're very interested in making sure that our students in Duval County all have an opportunity and have the support they need to stay in school and make it to the finish line.
So with that 8th grade group
Yes.
in your school, for example, what types of programs will be implemented to encourage them to stay the course?
We currently have a number, as Dr. Larson said, of programs in our school, graduation initiative and standards-based promotion. We know that we will be able to do an even better job with those programs, and we're looking to our stakeholders to give us ideas and strategies to help us even improve and bring on board other programs that maybe have been successful in other states and counties. So we're looking to enhance what we have and also bring in new ideas.
And so part of what we had to do to win one of these two spots, our Community Foundation of Jacksonville raised some local money to invest in this. There's a match with the Pew Partnership, and we had to demonstrate that we had those components already in the community to be able to do some real systemic work to reach students in a safety net way, socially and academically, to keep them on track. So the Learning to Finish campaign is going to help us further tighten that net. Now for me, I'd just like for the state legislature to do what needs to be done, which is change dropout rate to 18 from 16. Done. Well, that in one way is done, but the other way is how do we keep the students engaged and continue to feel like I should stay in school? There is something of value for me here, and so we have to work both of those things. And I must tell you, Ms. Priestley Jackson, our school board chair, and I had a chance to go to Washington for the press conference to announce this partnership at the National Press Club, and I was so proud of Jacksonville because of some very good work that had been done, this proposal by the Community Foundation to make us eligible for this and then winning it. So now we have to make good on it and get this dropout rate to zero and get these 8th graders well seated for high school so that they do finish.
Now let's define this problem a bit. What are some of the common components that you find contribute to students dropping out?
Stacy, I have found in my experience that most students who are beginning to go down that road exhibit 4 major characteristics. First of all, they're usually overage for grade level, 1, 2, possibly 3 years. Secondly, they're usually falling behind in their classes or the credits. Thirdly, they're usually scoring at fairly low levels on the FCAT testing, usually level 1 or 2. And then lastly, all of this comes together to sort of form within the student just the thought that it's not really realistic that I can actually graduate in the traditional manner.
Confidence.
So
that they
it just
can do
becomes a confidence problem, a community problem, as Dr. Wise said. So really the solutions lie within the community as a whole.
Finally, we've talked about local and national initiatives that are being put in place to help curb this problem. But at the home level, to a parent who may be watching, what are some suggestions that you may have if they fear their child may be one that might end up dropping out?
First of all, we have many safety net programs in place. As Dr. Ballantyne said, official dropout prevention type programming in place. I guess that the one message that we would like to give to parents today is that who may be watching is, if you find that your student is experiencing significant difficulty on a daily basis, please contact your school, please contact our office.
Absolutely.
There is hope, there are programs in place. We can and will help your student to earn that high school credential.
And that is the final word. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Next, a look at majors in high school, and later, weighing in on physical education. You're watching School Matters.
I came to use the United Way through the guidance counselor at Inglewood High School. I was having some issues with Denise.
My grades were slipping and I started cutting class because of lack of interest. I just really didn't care about anything.
I truly believe had she stayed on the path that she was on and we just tried to push it up underneath the rug, that there could have been some real detrimental effects from that.
I appreciate United Way very much because of the fact that if I hadn't gotten help a year ago, I have no idea actually where I would be now, what I'd be doing, what kind of trouble I'd be into, and who knows if I would graduate this year if it wasn't for my counselor and the right direction she pointed me into.
The United Way has been tremendous, and they haven't steered us wrong. We've just been right on the right track ever since.
The state legislature made changes in high school graduation requirements this past session. So beginning with students entering high school in 2007, credits will have to be earned in what's being called major areas of interest. The effort comes on the heels of Duval County's own very similar initiative, leading to questions about just what will be required. Joining Dr. Wise to provide an update on the situation are high school's programs director Beverly Strickland and Tony Bellamy, principal of First Coast High School. Thank you all so much for joining us. We want to start with just a basic definition, major areas of interest. What exactly are those classes?
The major areas of interest that the students will be taking are above and beyond their core subjects that are required for graduation. Each student will be required to select a major area of interest, such as humanities, maybe the fine arts, and they will take 4 courses in that area.
Now, this sounds very similar to the program recently implemented in the county already. What are some of the differences?
Well, what I find is that we have helped students to determine their majors by using our new high school redesign. We've broken our majors into small learning communities, and that has helped us to really look at certain areas of interest for students. The way we've implemented at our school, we had to look at really what we were currently offering as reference to courses, and then we categorize those courses to come up with areas of interest, which will then lead to determining a major for a student.
So how, in fact, do the programs work together? How much tweaking, if you will, of the current policy had to be done to comply with the new state regulations?
Well, you know, our school board was already had a bit of work underway to adjust high school graduation requirements. And Mrs. Strickland and others in the central office were already formulating what they needed to be, and you know, we raised them considerably. In fact, we have the toughest high school graduation requirements in the state, and proud of it. And also, we already had this require students to put an area of interest, an area of focus, document it on paper, build your plan around it. So we actually got a year head start on the state. And I'm super proud of the work. I never miss an opportunity to brag on the system. And so our high school principals, our central office leaders actually trumped me. I said, make the students build a 6-year plan. They said, no, they need to build a 10-year plan. We need to get far enough out of high school so we can hook their work to this long-range plan. And we've had a very good first year with this. As I get around to the high schools and I get a chance to hear from Mrs. Strickland and Mrs. Mann, our high school chief, and others, there's some evidence of some really great work. And our parents, students, and teachers, and certainly counselors taking this very seriously. So it's a good day for us in this regard.
Let's talk flexibility as far as students selecting these majors or areas of interest. How much flexibility is built into the program?
Quite a bit. We are able to offer several different types of majors, so students have an opportunity to select each year. You can change your major as the year progresses. So we try to encourage them to stay in a major for one entire year at least, so that they have the benefit of an experience of area of interest for them. If they choose to select a change, we're more than welcome. It's not a problem at all.
In fact, it seems as though maybe changing from time to time might give a student a little more broader idea of what might be out there professionally. Is that something that is encouraged or discouraged?
Well, we don't try to encourage it. I mean, we allow it because we want children to be focused. We want them to declare a major, and we really want them to stick with it. So when they go off to school, the college expectation is what we're looking for. So children will make a determination, say, I want to major in this area of interest when I go off to school. So we try to encourage them to maintain their area of interest.
How will this additional state support improve the secondary school education here in the county?
This effort will it will just support what we're already doing. It goes right along with our redesign efforts in our high schools right now, and it just gives us some extra support for what we already have in place.
And so some of the lingo that students and parents will hear are be a part of this small learning community or this academy or this house. That's some schools use the term house. Well, those are code for this group of students and teachers who are matched together for curriculum reasons or from areas of interest reasons. You know, I had a little bit of heartburn over, and I actually said to Governor Bush, let's don't call it high school major because it sends the wrong message, and it sends the message of inflexibility and all that. And I think our staff has done a great job of layering in flexibility, but also not so much that it's willy-nilly sign up for anything. And I like to think that when there's a change, there's a new compact, between the teacher, the student, and the parent, so that that change is intentional and they know that it's still hooked to the work they're there to do. I just think we're going to get a great mileage from this, and I guess ultimately I'll have to not worry about what it's called, a major, an area of interest, an area of focus, whatever, just work the plan the work and work the plan, right?
Exactly right.
Well, finally, the additional state support, are you all hopeful that this will increase business community support to these programs?
I do. I will tell you that we're in the process of selecting our theme for our Career Academy, and we hope to partner up with a business that will be supportive in offering job opportunities when children graduate from high school. So we're very hopeful in that.
Thank you all very much for joining us. And finally this month, comparing the gym classes adults remember to the physical education of today. This is School Matters.
At Duval County Public Schools, did you know? 90,000. That's the number of students tardy for the 2005-2006 school year, and that totals over 637,000 tardy days. Duval County Public Schools, inspiring dreams that influence tomorrow.
As childhood obesity becomes more of an issue, the role of schools in helping students improve physical fitness has come under scrutiny. Judy Hitzing is a physical education teacher at Biscayne Elementary, and Edgar Pabon is also a physical education teacher at Alamacani Elementary. They joined Dr. Wise and I to discuss this situation. Let's talk exercise, guys. What exactly are the PE requirements currently in the schools?
I can answer that. At the elementary level, there's 30 minutes required taught by a physical education teacher, an additional 60 minutes per week for recess.
30 minutes per
week.
Per week.
Per class.
Okay.
Taught by the physical educator.
And so currently, how many classes, PE classes a week are students having? A 30-minute session?
That's correct.
Okay. And so what does this entail in a class, in a session, in a class time?
Well, we have 30 minutes basically to take the children or the students from beginning to end through any particular physical education lesson. We teach our skills and our curriculum based on a 30-minute period once a week.
Okay, and so an average PE class is what? The students get in, are we doing calisthenics like we used to do? Are we doing running? What exactly is going on in class?
We're teaching skills that are really something that we want our students to take for their lifetime. So we teach as we want them to exercise or as we want them to develop healthy habits. So with our lessons, we begin with warm-ups and stretches as necessary. We go into the actual meat and potatoes of the lesson where we do our instruction, and then we practice the skill that we're working on that day. And we try to do everything in a timely manner with as much fun as possible, but most importantly with as much safety in mind as possible.
Is this really enough for schools to help curb this epidemic, if you will, of childhood obesity, when recommendations are often 30 to an hour of exercise a day? Do you find more PE could be necessary?
Well, recommendations come from all kinds of places, like the Centers for Disease Control, and we tend to go with the National Association for Sports and Physical Education. The recommendations are 150 minutes per week, which basically works out to be about 30 minutes a day for physical education instruction with a certified physical education teacher. Beyond that, we also have 60 minutes of physical activity per day per student, and that takes into account things like recess, physical education classes, extracurricular activities, and other such things.
You know, I think you could make the case for doing more and spending more time. The good news about today versus back in the day, professionals of today's era, they are tied to standards. The piece they teach are tied to standards, and those have the health, safety, kinesthetic, psychomotor, sports awareness, teamwork, all those kinds of things embedded in the curriculum. The beauty of having that plus an unstructured recess time gives an ability to get the best of both worlds. Certainly you could argue for more. I think Duval does a very good job of this because we have our literacy block, our math block, trying to fit music and art and science and social studies and language intervention if they need it, or other kinds of things. And so we have a big juggling act to get all the things in. We are committed to the whole child, and this is a big part of it. And I'm proud of our professionals, and I'm glad I even got to be on this segment because I'm not sure I was a PE star ever.
Now, a component of the PE class is also education correct? Teaching the children healthy living habits, not just the exercise.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that's what we're trying to develop, is a lifetime of health from the child. When we take them from age 4 or 5, pre-K, kindergarten, all the way through the 12th grade, we're really trying to get them to develop a lifetime's worth of knowledge. Once we let them go, once they go into the world as part of a member of our society, they have to live by whatever it is that we instill in them. We are both elementary physical education teachers. We believe very strongly in it because we believe that this is a way in which we can really get the kids exactly when they need them. We're competing with a lot of things in our society nowadays. Things have changed, just like Dr. Weiss was just talking about. When I used to go to school as a child, my mother had to drag me into the house from playing outside. I got all the physical activity I could ever want. Things have changed now. And so we're competing with TV, movies, Xbox, and all the such things. So it's a tough job for us to do. I think we have a very good goal. We use a very good set of standards, and our children are aware of it, and we're doing an excellent job at it. I think we have a lot to be proud of.
So that is something that you are seeing in the classes, a lack of physical activity as a whole from the children. Are you finding that?
That's part of society today, unfortunately. Plain as clear as I can make it, things have changed. Our attention is focused on other things, and physical activity is just not one of them at this time. Hence the obesity problem and other such things. Our health issues, it's just the way we're going. We're trying to fight that, and we'll find a good way.
Let's talk a little bit about parental support from home. You're with them 30 minutes a day, but the children at home, what can parents do to facilitate this physical exercise process?
Parents can definitely encourage physical activity at home, no doubt. But a lot of the kids go home and parents are still at work, and so they don't want children to be outside in a dangerous situation. But if they have any access to after-school activities, community education programs are offered through our district. PAL has super programs offered for a lot of kids in different regions of our city. This is where the community really can step up and help children get to those activities after school, because someone's got to take them there.
Bottom line, get them out and get them moving as much as possible. Thank you all for joining us. Now, if you have any questions about any of the issues on today's program, you can email them to schoolmatters@educationcentral.org. I'm Stacey Ellison, and thanks so much for joining us today, and I hope you'll be with us again next month for another edition of School Matters.